Hi everyone in Algebra 2B. Today we're going to be going over the new material in lesson 106. And really this problem set is just more on solving for the three equations, more systems of three equations. So the problem should be pretty similar to the ones you've been doing in the past. But what we're going to do is we're always going to try and isolate one variable. And for this one, for 106.1, I would start by isolating x. So I would get x is equal to 2z minus 3. And then from there, I'm going to take that x and plug it in where I can, which would be right there. So that would be 2 times 2z minus 3 plus 3y equals negative 4. So when I distribute the 2, I'm going to get 4z minus 6 plus 3y equals negative 4. And if I move this 6 to the other side, I'm going to add 6. And I'm going to rearrange this so that the y comes first. So 3y plus 4z is going to be equal to positive 2. Now what you should see is you have two equations that contain y and z. The one you have not used yet and this equation here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do elimination with those two. So I'm going to end up multiplying this third equation by 4. That would give me 8y minus 4z equals negative 24. Leave the equation as it is, so 3y plus 4z equals 2. When I do that, the z's cancel and I get 11y is equal to negative 22. And when I divide by 11, I get y is equal to negative 2. So now that I've done that, I'm just going to plug this equation in and I'm going to solve for z in this equation. So that would be 3 times negative 2 plus 4z equals 2. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, so I'm going to add 6 to either side. So I get 4z is equal to 8, and therefore z is equal to 2. And then lastly, you can solve for x by plugging into that equation, which would be x is equal to 2 times 2 minus 3. 2 times 2 is 4, so x would be equal to 1. So really just solving for one of the letters and then so isolating one letter and then plugging it into the other equations and then doing elimination. I'm going to do the same thing for 106.2. So I'm actually going to solve this equation for x. So x would be equal to 2y plus 6. You're going to plug that into the middle equation. So that would be 2 times 2y plus 6 minus 3y equals negative 5. You're going to distribute. Wait, I might have written that wrong. X minus, yeah, that should be 3z, sorry. My bad, that should be a z. So that would be 4y plus 12 minus 3z equals negative 5. I'm going to move the 12 to the other side. So I have 4y minus 3z equals negative 17. And now what I want to do is I want to do elimination using the top equation and this equation here. So the top equation and this equation here. Now, there's no real easy way to do that, so I'm just going to multiply the top equation by negative 4 and the bottom equation by 3. When I do that, I get negative 12y plus 8z is equal to 48. My bottom equation, I would get positive 12y minus 9z is equal to, so negative 17 times 3 give me negative 51. The y's now cancel and I get negative z is equal to negative 3 So therefore, z is equal to 3. Now that I know that, I can either plug this into this top equation or into this bottom equation to solve for what y is equal to. Let's try and plug it into the top one. So that would be 3y minus 2 times 3 equals negative 12. So negative 2 times 3 would be negative 6. So the opposite of that would be plus 6. So I'd have 3y is equal to negative 6, and therefore y is equal to negative 2. And then lastly is just solving for x, and you can use this equation right here. That would be x is equal to 2 times y, which is negative 2 plus 6. So x would be equal to negative 4 plus 6, and therefore x is equal to 2. Okay. Now I want you to pause the video and I want you to attempt numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. When you're done, you can unpause the video so that you can try the problems with me and make sure you did them correctly. So for number 5, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to solve for z in the middle equation. And that would give me z is equal to negative 4x plus 5. I'm going to plug that in to the bottom equation. So that would be 4y plus 2 times negative 4x plus 5 equals negative 10. I'm going to distribute that, and that would give me 4y. That would be negative 8x plus 10 equals negative 10. I want to rearrange this so that the x is in front and then the y is second. So that would be negative 8x plus 4y equals, when I move the 10 to either side, be negative 20. So something that you should notice right here is that all three of those variables are divisible by 4. So we can actually simplify this by dividing the whole equation by 1/4. If I do that, I get negative 2x plus y is equal to negative 5. The reason I do that is because when I add this top equation here and this bottom equation here, I want to be able to eliminate y. So I'm actually going to multiply this equation by 3, leaving the top equation as is. So the 3x minus 3y equals 9. And then this equation would turn into negative 6x plus 3y is equal to negative 15. So my y's would cancel. This would be negative 3x, and this would turn into negative 6. So therefore, x is equal to 2. Now that I know what x is equal to, I can actually solve for z right at the top. So z would be equal to negative 4 times 2 plus 5. So negative 8 plus 5. So z would be equal to negative 3. And then finally, we have to solve for y. So we can plug that x into this equation here. So negative 2 times 2 plus y equals negative 5. This would be negative 4, so I'd add 4 to the other side. So y is equal to negative 1. Now moving on to number 6. So for number 6, the first thing that I want to do is I want to add the top two equations together, eliminating one of the variables. So I'm going to multiply this bottom one by negative 1 and leave the top one as is. So that would be 2x minus 2y minus z equals 9. Bottom equation would turn into negative 3x minus 3y plus z equals negative 6. So now my z's cancel, and I get negative x minus 5y equals 3. I'm going to add the bottom two equations together as is because the z's would already cancel. So that would be 4x plus 4y equals 2. Now it would be pretty easy to do elimination between these two equations by just multiplying this equation by 4, leaving the left one as the same. So that would be negative 4x minus 20y equals 12. And when I add those together, the x's are going to cancel, and I get negative 16y is equal to 14. Wait, shoot. 6 plus negative 2 should have been 4. So that would be equal to 16, my bad. So y would be equal to negative 1. Now that I know what y is equal to, I'm going to solve for x. So that would be negative x minus 5 times negative 1 equals 3. Two negatives make a positive, so I'm going to subtract 5 from the other side. So I get negative x is equal to negative 2. So therefore, x is equal to positive 2. Now lastly, I'm going to solve for z. I'm going to plug them into this bottom equation. So I'd have 2 plus negative 1 plus z equals negative 2. 2 minus 1 is just 1. And then z would be equal to negative 3. Now you should have attempted also numbers 7 and number 8. So for number 7, the first thing that I have to do is I have to find the height of this triangle. And I'm going to do that by using Pythagorean theorem. So h squared is going to be equal to my base squared, which if I divide that by 2 would be 4 pi squared, plus my hypotenuse, which is 7 pi squared. So h squared would be equal to 16 pi squared plus 49 pi squared. And that would give me h squared is equal to 65 pi squared. So when I take the square root of both sides, you can't take the square root of 65, but you can take the square root of pi squared. So h would be equal to the square root of 65 pi. So now when I find the area of the triangle, it's going to be 1/2 the base, which is 8 pi, times the height, which is root 65 pi. And 2 goes into 8 4 times. So your answer is just going to be 4 square root 65 pi squared. Centimeters squared. And that's without actually plugging that into your calculator. Now looking at number 8. Number 8, we're going to draw our reference triangle right next to it. It's a 45, 45 reference triangle, so that should be 1, 1 root 2. Meaning that my two sides are actually going to be the same. So once I solve for one, I don't have to solve for the other. So I'm going to draw my ratios. It's going to be 3 over root 2 equals m over 1. When I cross multiply that, I get root 2m equals 3. But you can't divide by the square root of 2 and leave it in the denominator. So I'd have to multiply top and bottom by root 2. So just like I said before, both sides on the 45, 45, 90 triangle are actually the same. So that means that m is actually equal to n, and they're both equal to 3 root 2 over 2. Now looking at B, this is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So I'm going to draw my 30, 60, 90 triangle right next to it. 30-degree angle here, 60-degree angle here. It should be 1, 2, and then the square root of 3. So I'm going to write this as P over root 3 equals 7 over 1 equals Q over 2. So when I cross multiply this, I'm going to get P is equal to 7 root 3. When I cross multiply this, I get Q is equal to 14. So that one was pretty simple. You didn't have to actually do any dividing. You just had to cross multiply for number 8. Now for number 9, I know that my n is going to be equal to this number that's given with the repeating decimal. So my n is going to be equal to 0.0007013, 013, and it's going to repeat. Now, anytime there's a 3 repeating decimal, that means you're going to multiply this number by 1 plus 3 zeros. So however many repeating decimal numbers, that's how many zeros will be at the end of your 1. So when I multiply that by 3, we would move this over 3 spaces. So that would be 0.7013013, and that would just repeat. So notice how that would now cancel out your 0.13s and the repeating decimals when you subtract them. And now I'm just left with 9,000 minus n, which would be 999 n. And then 0.7013 minus 0.0007 gives us 0.7006. I'm going to divide both sides by 999. But I need this to be a whole number over a whole number. So I need to move the decimal point over 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Meaning my n would be 7,006 over 999, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be 9,990,000, and that would be your result. So that one we multiplied by 1,000 because there's 3 repeating decimals. Look at the next one. My n is going to be equal to the number given. So 4.102626, and then that's going to repeat. So that's 2 zeros at the end of 1, which would be 100. And so move the decimal points over 2, so that'll be 410.262626, and repeat. You're subtracting that, so 100 minus n would be 99n. The 2 6's, repeating decimal, all of that would cancel. So I'd have really 410.26 minus 4.1. And that would give me 406.16. Divide both sides by 99. Just like on the last one, I don't want it to be a decimal number, so I need to move the decimal point over 2 spaces on top and bottom. So my fraction would be 40616 over 9,900. And that would be your result for number 10. And that concludes all the problems we're going to do together on this lesson. I hope you guys all have a great day. Bye.